Today we are talking about gooning. It is a type of masturbation that is sort of extremely popular online. There's some fascinating actual science articles about it. Definitely, I was going to say PG-13. This is maybe rated R.
Yeah.
You got to be over 18 for this stuff.
Family turned it off.
Mom and dad turned it off vibes. Absolutely insane, but I guess we shouldn't judge. Or we should.
No, it's interesting. I mean, we always like to talk about how nothing is taboo here because we're just learning about science. But it is an interesting term because we did a podcast on edging a while back, and I'm going to touch on a little bit of that today too because there's like some crossover. And at the time, I had actually never heard the word gooning.
Yeah, we listened to our episode on edging, and I bring up gooning, and you're like,
what?
Is that a swear word?
Which is so weird because now in culture, at least, like I hear people making that even as a joke. Like I'm gooning for something, like to go do something. Like people say this, so it's like a more internet culture has like become more pervasive in regular life. But maybe we should just start for those who have no idea what we're talking about.
Okay, so gooning is a new kind of masturbation, self-pleasure. It resembles edging, as in you repeatedly bring yourself close to the point of climax, but you actively do not climax. But gooning is more goal-oriented. It's more communal. There's something called a goon state, which giggle, which is a supposed like zone of total ego death and bliss. Almost a meditative state that's attained when you masturbate for hours, potentially days at a time. And
that's the craziest part. I was like, days. But I guess like, cool. You know, we're like sex positive. What we're going to talk about today, like the benefits, the pitfalls, the risks, and those kind of things related to gooning. It's interesting.
Oh my God.
What?
Just like related to gooning. It's interesting.
I was going to say, it's interesting you said that it is a goal because my interpretation from like my reading and the research is like edging is a more specific goal because it is associated more with orgasm, whereas gooning is more about like the stage where you're aroused for a really long time, which obviously is a goal, and maybe it's more of like a psychological goal.
Also, like there's this visual of gooning that I've seen online, which is like someone's like cross-eyed with their tongue out, like, like have you seen that vibe of it?
Yes, I
so
feel
I'm like,
like
okay, is that the altered state? I was about to be like, and some people go cross-eyed and stick their tongue out.
No, that seems to be, you're right. There is like imagery associated where it's just like people looking like their face just look like it's a face associated with gooning these days. And if you know, you know.
Also,
go look it up.
There's also a part of it that's called feeding, which is porn mediated cybersex in which one gooner sustains another gooner's session by sending them curated porn from their private collection. And it's like, so a lot of this happens on Discord. Like people will goon together on Discord, which is such an incredible sentence. It's like, I don't even really know what goon and Discord mean. So people goon together on Discord is like, say that to someone from 1982. They'd
or
be like,
from like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, literally. So, and then they'll give other people their favorite porn compilations. Sometimes a lot of it has to do with like really fast changing pornographic videos. But when you give that to them, it's called goon fuel.
Oh my God. Okay. I did not know that.
I know. Okay. So there was I thought it was quite mediocre article in Harper's Bazaar recently about gooning. It was this huge article. There was like a big uproar about it online. And there was no scientific talk. I guess obviously when I look at an article, I'm curious about the science. It was all about the culture of gooning. It was really long. And that's where I learned about goon fuel. And that's where I learned about goon state.
So I think this is an important distinction, at least at this point in time, is that like edging is a clinical term. And honestly, like maybe in the 50s was first brought up as like a start and stop method and was usually or typically associated with premature ejaculation, right? So it was like a method to help people who were having premature ejaculation, like extend their ability to say like, can we delay your orgasm on purpose because you want to do that? And so that's like part of the literature in science studies in many different ways, whereas gooning is more of like an internet subculture. And I think it's important to acknowledge that it is often associated with pornography consumption, which like edging is not necessarily. I'm not saying everyone who's gooning is like always using porn, but I think that's like, it's kind of part of what comes with like the internet subculture of it. And there are not a lot of studies on it now because this is like a kind of, not to say people sexually haven't done things for extended periods of time. And that's also what I want to talk about today, like what happens to your body when you're aroused for hours or days. But as a topic of conversation, like I think this is unique.
4.6 million people registered. Okay,
As gooners?
4.6. No. 4.6 million registered OnlyFans creators. Sorry, this is such a bad sentence. I wrote this improperly. Last year, 4.6 million people registered as an OnlyFans creator. Just last year. Whereas in 2005,
that many people in 1 year. Wow.
Whereas in 2005, there was only 13,000 films released in the porn industry.
Wow.
So in 2005, 13,000, honestly, probably 22-minute porn videos. Whereas not that many people subscribing to OnlyFans. The point of that statistic for me was about how gooning, goon state, all this conversation is coming out of a culture of, it is related to the internet, pornography. The way that we consume media now is shocking. And even if you go back as early as 2005, we have to grapple with the fact that we are on our phones. We're on Instagram. Guys and girls are hopping in sweatpants, titties, bouncing. Like it's all related to this like concept of gooning, this hypersexual world that we live in.
I would say not intentionally related.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, I don't think like people wearing sexually suggestive clothing on Instagram has to do with gooning.
Well, okay,
but
fair.
Obviously like there's lots of sexualized content on the internet.
The
like,
article, sorry, that was like me stealing a point from the main point of this article was that this gooning is it is a symptom of our time.
Okay, and I can understand if you mean like also we are perhaps actually all aroused way more than we would have been otherwise, because we're seeing things that are otherwise seeming innocuous, but you can see in someone's sweatpants explicitly that like the outline of their penis or whatever, and that's intentional by a lot of creators. Like, is that kind of what you meant? Like, or you go on your Instagram, you're just seeing like beautiful people with bodies being exposed.
No, intentional. Like they were talking about like how gooners will be like, oh, I love this one person, and they'll send Instagram videos of someone like bouncing around, and like that's part of their like goon sesh.
Okay,
that could be goon
like
fuel
back and forth. Wow.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's crazy that goon fuel could be on your phone when you're just sort of scrolling on like a story on Instagram or whatever. It's like, okay, wow.
Yeah, we are like
we're
obviously
just in a time that's very
yes, and I mean people could have said that even about like the advent of like television was more hypersexualized living than it was prior to that. Like obviously I'm not saying like early television was sexualized, but we've become as a society more exposed to like visual stimuli, and as a result like much more sexual stimuli as well. Right? Like sometimes you're just like going about your day and then you see something that's like, whoa, that's a really attractive person, and now I'm like turned on by that.
Yeah.
Without having any intention to do it. Versus I imagine, and actually I'm going to talk about this in a little bit in terms of like the challenges or problems with gooning is like when you, and this has to do with any kind of like sexual stimulation, when you are, if you're choosing to do it versus if it's kind of like compulsive.
Oh yeah,
right?
Wanting versus liking. That was in my pornography use videos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like it's similar with pornography. Like if you're like, okay, I planned a session that I'm gonna like have time with myself and do that, versus like in the midst of work having the compulsion to need to go do it, is like a line that I think like clinicians and therapists would probably talk about. Yeah, there's an important distinction.
Fascinating current research about all of this. But one thing from my pornography video that I ended with was a way to think about pornography use and how to know it's healthy is, do you like it? You want to like porn. You don't want to want porn or to need porn.
Okay.
So I think that it's like, that's an interesting thing. Try and keep it as something like, oh, I like it. Like being able to confidently say, oh, I like porn, rather than, oh, I actually need porn or want porn. This is an interesting simplification.
Or like it would also be okay if you don't like it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, or don't like it at all. No,
I'm thinking of social media as well. Is like, it's probably better if you have like a passive like
I didn't even think there was an option to not like porn. I'm like,
some people don't, and some people don't like social media. But if you are someone who engages in these things, it's probably a healthier attitude to be like, yeah, I like it, versus like like my body needs it to feel like
I'm trying to keep it in liking mode for myself.
I think like something worth thinking about in terms of gooning. And
oh my god, I can't.
You're so funny.
Just love pulling it out. Something worth thinking about in terms of
I
gooning.
mean, it is crazy considering I didn't have this word in my vocabulary a year ago.
So,
okay, in terms of sexual arousal, like obviously there's 4 stages. It's excitement, then plateau, then orgasm, and resolution. And so gooning is focused primarily on that plateau stage, right? Like, can you get excited, but can we maintain that plateau stage? Not necessarily, like obviously people orgasm and finish, but a lot of times it's about that state and spreading out as long as possible.
There can be shame in orgasming in the goon world, which is what I was learning. Yes.
Like even when you're done, you shouldn't finish?
It's like they're really intensely, they don't want it. And when it happens, it's shameful.
Oh, wow.
It's a sign of you lost. Anyways,
Like
continue.
okay.
It's like they want that plateau for a real long time.
Well, I was just going to say, like, in that sense, it's important when asking what's happening. Like, obviously, there's not, like, fMRI studies on people gooning for days, okay? But there are fMRI studies on people masturbating and having sex, which is also was probably just as big of a challenge to, like, get people into fMRI
We
machines.
could definitely get some gooners in an fMRI. And again, if you're looking for a master's thesis, go for it. I'm not kidding. You'd get funding.
But
actually not in
obviously-
America
okay.
because they don't believe in science.
So
but
when
continue.
somebody is aroused, there's deactivation in the lateral orbitofrontal cortex, which is like obviously that's the one related to reason and logical decision making and social value judgments. So people have like decreased fear and anxiety, and these things we've talked about before, where it's like when you're aroused, like you lose that sense of insecurity. Obviously, to become aroused, you can't be feeling insecure. You can't be feeling anxious. So once you're there, it's like, obviously that's a pleasurable state. And extending it, I think, is why this is like such a psychological phenomenon, because in some ways, by extending that period, it's like maybe a form of like meditation and mindfulness for people.
You've reached the goon state, bro.
Well, I mean, a lot of times we're also like all grappling with constantly being barraged with anxiety-inducing headlines and the state of the world.
I
and
studied literally on that.
being challenged with how much we're working and people being challenged with how much money they have versus how much they have to spend. So anything that can remove you from that, this is why people turn to drugs or to social media or
to the
TV
goon state.
Or to gooning. Yeah, I think it's like all part of that bigger symptom of like maybe we should talk about why. And I'm not saying this as someone who does it, but like we can meditate as an option that has been shown to be like quite
Let's try
healthy.
meditating and not gooning. Meditation over gooning.
Because
Merch. That's merch.
Because the way that it's often described, like I'll just jump ahead a little bit here, but one of the benefits of gooning is that it's like it is very mindful. Like you have to be physically aware of your body to not pass into orgasm, right? Like,
But you're also most likely watching porn. That's not that mindful, is it?
no, mindful though is like you're very sense aware. Like if you have an orgasm, you weren't mindful, right? So you're like constantly in tune with your body. And like meditating, you're not like focused on the outside world. Like
Yeah.
mindful in the sense of like focused and very in the present.
Gooning without porn? I'd like to challenge the gooners to that. Some goon fuel your brain, babe.
I mean, I imagine that like the reason porn is so associated with gooning is because it's actually really hard to be aroused for hours
for
at
sure.
a time without like
And I'll get into
help,
why we
whether that's
definitely
drugs or whether that's visual stimuli. It's like maybe some people can have sex for hours, but days, like that's another level.
This survey on 100 gooners, literally, found that they tend to masturbate for 8 to 12 hours at a time, only a few times a month. Because they only go for the goon state of the 8 a few times a month. Other than that, they're masturbating on average 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh, a day. Okay, that is like a lot.
And I'm just like,
I was gonna say
that's
like
wild.
once a month.
To goon for 12 hours?
Well, like that is obviously unbelievable. And amazing. But I mean, if
it's like Postmates showing up and you're like, drop it at the door. Like, I'm just like, how are you like, is there like Stanley cups just like near them at all times, just like sucking like a hamster wheel? Okay. I mean, that's kind of hot, I guess.
Obviously, for me, that would be unbelievable. But when you said once a month, I'm like, oh, that seems like under control for me. Like, if you are like so
but 8 to 12 hours of gooning, Mitch.
Okay, yeah.
That's
I'm trying to not be
7 to
judgmental.
7.
And I'm like, if you like were that into it and it doesn't interfere with the rest of your life and it's once a month.
I can be the judgmental one. I'm like, that has to interfere with your life.
For one day a month?
12 hours. Yeah. What? Okay.
Some people like get drunk for 12 hours.
Okay.
Every
And
weekend.
I also don't know if that's like a great
But
thing
once
either.
a month?
Okay. Wow. Okay. I don't know. You're right. I am sex negative in general, I guess.
I guess I just
think
mean
that's shocking.
Obviously, it is shocking for me. Like I've never come anywhere close to that even once in my life. So I'm just trying to say though, like when talking about moderation, obviously that's like a note we're gonna end on in terms of anything, social media, pornography, whatever. Having these like healthier relationships to something, to me, like planning something a month in advance to do one time that you're really into.
I love like the Google Cal, like gooning, and just like the whole day blocked in like a green, and it's like someone seeing it, gulp. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why this says gooning.
Anyway, okay. Continue.
Over 2.5 million people visit pornography sites every 60 seconds. So I'm kind of like, okay, you're right. There's some gooners out there.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I was going to go back to what you said about the state of anxiety inducing headlines and how like the goon state could be coping with the symptom of our times.
Mm-hmm.
So one study found, and this is like how it started with an anecdote, which I kind of thought was super interesting. And it's related to COVID because they really feel like COVID had a huge impact on problematic porn use, gooning, etc. So on January 13th, 2018, an alert was mistakenly sent to all the people of Hawaii that there was a missile heading towards them. And then they were all like for 30 minutes like, okay, well, we're all about to be like bombed.
Yeah.
And then it was a huge government mistake. It was a false alarm. 15 minutes after they got the false alarm message that everything was fine, Pornhub views spiked by 48%.
Oh my God.
And then same thing, March 11th,
Spiked. I'm curious about, like, you may not have the answer to this, but I'm curious,
I
like,
don't.
spiked to the daily average, or was it like because everyone was like, we're about to die, I'm obviously not going on the computer? Like, is it because it went to zero?
No, it was like above the daily average.
Okay,
and same happened March 11th, 2020. Coronavirus, that's like the day ever, like Justin Trudeau to us was like, come on home, boys. Not to us specifically, but we were away at the time. And then by March 25th, 2020, Pornhub views had spiked by 24%. That was from a study on how much porn use increased in COVID. And as the news was more drastic, pornography consumption went up. But by consumption, they mean just searching for porn. So you can just assume that means more porn. So that's really interesting because it's like people do go to porn as an escape from tumultuous times. So it's sort of like, okay, this like goon state, and you saying, oh, the plateau is a time where you can feel really like you don't feel self-aware, you don't feel insecure, you don't feel scared. Like if that's part of what being aroused and gooning is, it could be related to how scared and insecure and uncertain the times are.
Totally.
Literally through these studies, which I thought was like really interesting. There's so much information now coming out about the way that COVID and lockdowns impacted pornography use. And then I started to go really deep on problematic porn use articles, of which there are many coming out like last year, this year, really recent research. And I found a lot of terms within them, pornography binges, pornographic binging. And I was kind of like, that could be the academic term for gooning. It's people, it says people who
like binging all at once.
And I'm like, okay, because they're obviously like, it's not like you can be like the science of gooning, enter. But if you get deep into a lot of these porn research, they have blocked off parts about pornographic binges. And I was like, okay, I'm going to look at that now. And that I have cool research, but I'm like, that's gooning.
Totally. And I guess you're right. Like, because we're obviously talking about the most extreme examples, gooning for 8 hours, even 2 to 3. Like, I'm sure many people aren't doing that, but many people might be doing binge sessions that are an hour long, 2 hours long. Or, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to know what that limit is.
Yeah. So,
right?
okay.
So I wonder what the average view time of pornography is for people.
Okay. So I guess it's too personal to say what it is for you, but I will say one story, and I hope my friends aren't listening. But we were like, I was traveling with friends.
Oh no.
And we were watching TV, and my friend was like, okay, I'm just going to like go jerk off. And we were like, yeah, for sure.
Which in the first place is like very peculiar because like I've never had a friend just like tell me they're going to go jerk off, to be honest.
Oh, really? Oh, I was about to be like, that's so gay guy. Like, I didn't think it was weird.
I think that I would just like go off on my own and not tell anyone.
Well, okay. I actually think that's cute. Like, it's like, who cares?
That's so cute.
No, I just mean like it's a sign of friendship. Like, I actually was like, for sure, go off. Like, I also jerked off like yesterday or whatever. And like, I also we were on like a trip in Spain, and it was like, I'm like, it was a sexual trip. It doesn't matter. Like, we're close. It was fine. That was not the weird part to me. Nothing was weird. Okay. But it was just like, he went away, and it was like, yeah, sure. I was watching TV with my other friend. Time's passing. We're like assuming he's asleep. And he like comes out. He's like, oh yeah, okay. And I was like, wait, were you the whole, like, I assumed he'd been asleep for like an hour or something. I was like, were you just jerking off that whole time? And he was like, yeah. And it was like, oh, like that is a lot longer than I normally do.
Yeah.
Or like, and so then made me want to ask how long your average ones are. But I'm like, I can't imagine watching porn for like, okay, what another part of this research that's interesting is that your perception of time goes away.
Sure.
I'm going to talk about this right now. So it's like, obviously I can't imagine it. Like doing it for long periods of time, but it was just interesting for him to be like, wait, that's normal. And then I had this moment of like, wait, we all have different ideas of what's normal for what length of porn consumption.
Like, I'm not going to talk about myself, but I'll give you some reference point. Like, I would also be like, oh my God, like an hour is long.
Yeah, I'm
not judging it. I more just mean like that. Like if I do an hour, I would be like, oh my God.
It made me think I'm like bad. Not like I'm bad at porn watching, but I'm like,
no. Okay, yeah,
that's a lot. Okay. Anyways, I feel bad now. It's like I really hope my friends aren't listening. No, our friends don't even know what we do. They don't care.
But okay, never mind. I'll tell you off pod something.
Okay. I hate when podcasters do that.
Okay, but this is like about our friends.
Okay.
I don't want to like expose anything.
Okay. So, problematic porn use is something that someone self-identifies as having. And so when there was this one survey on people who gooned, a lot of them are looking for this goon state. And what's so interesting about the culture of it is there's a lot of positive thinking around it. It's sort of like, whereas a lot of people who identify as having problematic porn use, it means that they are feeling some type of shame sometimes. Okay. To the point that when they actually ask how much they watch porn, they'll find there are some people who think they have a problem with porn and they're watching way less porn than lots of people who are like, I'm fine with porn.
It's about your relationship to how you feel about your own consumption.
Yes, which makes this type of research quite skewed, which I think is something everyone needs to know. But there's a lot of research on problematic porn use, and 10% of people think they have problematic porn use.
Okay.
So one study
regardless of regardless of a classification.
Yeah. A lot of the time when they get into the nitty gritty, it's like, you do. Like,
yeah. I'm sure most people know when they have it, but you're like saying some people technically may be under average.
Yeah. They haven't been like, oh, you watch it for 3 hours a day. You have it. It's like, it's self-identified. Okay. In the past, there was an earlier study, 3 to 6% of people were said to have it. A more recent meta-analysis said it was around 10%. And so that was really interesting. Once you go into those people who self-identify as having problematic porn use, that's where all the research opens up, which I do think is quite related to gooning.
Okay.
And one of the issues with problematic porn use was called, you enter while watching porn a subjectively altered state of sexual arousal when masturbating to pornography, potentially characterized by diminished pleasure, and a trance-like dissociative state occurs. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's gooning.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. And then what happens is they find they're in this trance-like state and the time just passes. Mm-hmm. And they feel a lot of shame about their actions because they're doing it for so long and they feel like they've lacked the control and ability to stop. I was like, that's really fascinating. And they have the cognitive, social, physical difficulties when they're watching lots of porn, a lot of sexual dysfunction within their relationships, unable to get hard with people like their partners. Like, that's all coming from problematic porn use. Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth knowing that there's so much research on that for people who are gooning, because a lot of the people who were surveyed in this article about gooning were having a hard time actually meeting partners and having a hard time with their social lives and finding that the gooning was a way to deal with that. And it seems like a bit of a feedback loop,
like a negative feedback loop. Like, you're having a hard time, so you're spending more time doing this, but that actually makes it more challenging to be in a sexual relationship. Because that will be one of the risks or consequences that I was going to bring up as well, right? Like, obviously these reinforcing behaviors and extreme stimuli, because for a lot of times, like what the research talks about, it's mostly like surveys that I came across. Like, there's not a lot of like hard research on this that I came across, but it's like, oh my God, my brain just blacked out. I just blacked out. It was to say, and same with problematic porn use.
Been gooning too much.
The more you go into it, like the more extreme stimuli you often need. And this is not exclusive to gooning. This is like porn use as well, right? Like, as something turns you on, now you want more of it, and now sort of like quote unquote more generic sexual stimuli maybe seem boring to you or don't get you off. And it's the same with even like masturbation. Like, if you masturbate a lot, then when you have like sexual encounters with another person, it might be harder for you to achieve orgasm because you're so used to the way that you participate in masturbation on yourself. And so I think the same thing can happen with gooning, where it's like, as you create a whole sublayer to how you get aroused and a state that you can get in. Now, if you're with somebody else, you may not be able to achieve that in the same way. And so it may cause problems in a relationship.
Yeah, but then also like this is leading to the concept of addiction and like the DSM diagnostics of addiction. And so gambling, other similar types of addictive quote unquote concepts in life. Gambling I thought was really interesting because I'll talk more about that later. Like the physiology of your brain while gambling is similar to masturbating. Now scientists are really trying to be like, should we start really focusing on porn and masturbation as addictive? Some of the reasons why are what you just mentioned. There's quantitative escalation. So you can see that certain people with problematic porn use, the frequency of their sessions increases. This is like an addictive symptom. Then they have qualitative escalation, which means they engage in increasingly provocative sexual content. And then that also leads to something called tab jumping, which is fast moving videos, constantly changing, constantly seeking the novelty of porn. That they're like those, as you start to define them, fall under addictive concepts. And so I was like, that's really interesting. And then there was within this study one interview with someone who I thought in my head, I'm like, okay, this was a gooner, but this was his quote. What I think is happening is I jump between different pictures, videos, even porn games, which I didn't realize, while edging, which causes what I consider to create time jumps. I lose track of time. I spend an unhealthy amount of time doing this, leading to brain fog during and afterwards. Respondents did not generally report similar problems following engagement in other sexual behaviors. So they're finding people are like, when I'm masturbating to porn and gooning, I have this really intense stimulation and like I lose track of time and I feel foggy, whatever. But when I'm like seeking out sex with a human or having sex with a human, I don't have the same issue. I'm like, that's really interesting. Like you can't just like tab jump with a human.
Yeah.
There's a sensuality, there's a practicality of the sex there.
Which you like in some ways can be more exciting, but in other ways it can be less
maybe
exciting.
Not. Yeah. I was like, this is so interesting. And then this is when I started to click all the links and I was like, there's actually so many articles about binging pornography in the last year. And I'm like, that's good.
It is a really fascinating topic, and like, not to just reiterate it, but I think there's something interesting about our consumption of media being, it's not just that everything's more sexualized, it's just that we watch so much media that there's so many more opportunities to almost like be triggered into sexual thoughts. And just seeing like, even if someone's not like doing something sexual, but looking beautiful, you know what I mean? Like someone who you find very physically attractive just popping up all the time. And those are the videos that are more likely to go viral or be seen. It's just like people who are really attractive.
Yeah.
And there's entire accounts of people just like dancing or just doing cute things that because they're just hot. It's all like part of a bigger picture. Like obviously that's harmless in and of itself, one video. But when you have millions of these videos that are coming into your feed every single day at every single hour that you're watching content, like it is
crazy. On TikTok, I'll be like, wow, I'm so into this guy mouthing this song. And I'll be like, it's just because he's unbelievably hot.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I'll click on his like profile and
that's all they do.
So many views. And I'll be like, wow, imagine just being so hot that one day you're like, I should probably film a video of myself mouthing a song.
I often find those pages, and this is no judgment because like if you're hot, fine, whatever. But I'll often be like, oh, I wonder what they're like. Like that person's really attractive. I'm going to go to their page and see. And then you realize they've never spoken on video. Like they only have videos of them mouthing to songs.
Wait, what?
There are lots of like so many people on TikTok like, I am trying not to say this in a judgmental way, but it's obviously like we make content where we're like talking to the camera.
And everyone's like, boo, not hot.
Literally. I'm like, if only we were hotter, our science videos would be more viral.
I've never considered attractiveness like ever in making a video.
Oh, I've thought about that for sure.
Oh, that's what I find so interesting is I'm like, oh yeah, there are people who are literally like, oh fine, I'm so hot. I guess I'll be an influencer. And it's just like, whoa, what a weird like. Does someone tell you when you're really hot? Like, how do you know? Like, are you like, is someone pull you aside and go like, by the way, you're really hot? Or you just start realizing that the world's like,
yeah, I wouldn't know. We're going to have to bring someone on the pod to like tell us what it's like.
We should have a hot person on the pod and just be like,
what is it like? Honestly, I actually think that's interesting. Like, not that it's interesting to like obsess over like attractiveness, but to be someone like we all know there's people in this world that are just like naturally beautiful. And I'm curious about their experience. And some of them, what makes them even more attractive is that you think they don't know, right? Like there are these people who are so attractive but act so humble or like don't, there's
these ones know.
There's a lot of people who are hot who know they're hot, and it can
Which
be
is
annoying.
also, but that can also be hot.
But it can be annoying.
Okay. Wait, but what I more meant, okay, we're a little side noting, but what I meant was like, it is so interesting. It's so interesting because there is obviously people like on the subway who you think are hot because like their vibe's hot, or like I find like it is very interesting how someone can become so unattractive once you talk to them, and like attraction is so not based on hotness. But it's interesting, like even like if I think of like the gym, like there's actually not that many people who are just so hot, but there are some. It's the crazy thing about TikTok is that it filters through everyone on earth.
Yeah.
That there are people who I'm like, this person is objectively hot to everyone.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that like do the mouthing thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
But they're shockingly attractive. Whereas in real life, it's kind of fun because it's actually quite rare, I think, to find someone who is like a 10 for everyone. That to me, I only really see online. Because in real life, it's like...
One more little side note I've noticed. Okay, this is the craziest conversation ever.
No, we're talking about how like everyone's always horny.
Sometimes I'll see someone on... Actually, I'm not going to say this one.
No, say it.
It's just like sometimes, because I think the reason in real life it's harder to see someone so attractive is because you actually see them as more of a whole person. And there's been people on TikTok that I've been like, oh my God, that person's like so cute or attractive. And I go to their page and you realize for some reason in this one particular video that has gone viral, they look so good. And it does not necessarily translate to every video. Like I know I'm not even trying to place a judgment on the way they would look. They're obviously an attractive person.
But they got lightning in a bottle in their mouthing video.
In one video, I'm like, that video has 5 million views.
Wow.
And none of their other videos do. And I've noticed like they somehow look so cute. It's not like they did more makeup. It's like the lighting and the angle was perfect that day.
I mean, I've seen influencers IRL, and I think I want to learn how you do their lighting and angles, because there are some that I'm like, that is like the hunkiest 6'4" giant man, and then I see them in real life and they're like and they're like tiny.
We need to go back to Gooning. So I'm gonna also go back to
another. Ended on me saying the most judgmental awful thing, and then went right back. I'm like, at least validate me now. I feel like an absolute asshole.
That's for you to deal with.
No. Oh my God.
Okay,
Gooning.
A positive that we haven't brought up, because a lot of your conversations are about solo.
Nothing positive.
But there is the element of if you're gooning with a partner, if you're doing a sexual activity for a long time, that can like improve communication. It can be an experience where like you're trying to arouse your partner but not push them past the limit. You're learning about their body, they're learning about yours. Like obviously this may not be happening. Like maybe most quote unquote gooners are doing it solo and with porn.
Well, there's a lot of gooners on Discord who goon together, but solo in separate through the places.
Internet. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that's an element of like exploring sexuality with somebody else, learning about your body and theirs. Like, doesn't just need to be a short session. That's like
gooning with a partner for real in IRL is the best probably way to goon.
Yeah, assuming it's not like
there was a lot of fun homoerotic stuff too. It'd be like, yo, no homo, I'm not gay, but I'd love a bro to just like goon with.
Okay, that's that's covert gay porn, by the way.
Yeah, no, but they say they hate gay porn and they only watch straight porn.
Who's they?
It's just in this Harper's Bazaar article about like all the gooners.
Oh, like that. Okay.
Yeah, like it's like it's a common thread that they're gooning together.
But that's also like a subculture of gay porn. Like there's literally subreddits called like Totally Straight, and it's just gay porn, but it's all posing like, I just want to be with my bros, man, not gay, but here I am jerking off with my best friend. Like, but obviously it's just like two gay guys. Not obviously necessarily, but
interesting.
It's like a form of like, and maybe there are straight men who are interested in gay porn. I'm not trying to take away from that, like that are actually straight, but there is a subculture of gay porn that is like romanticizing the idea of gay men being interested, or sorry, straight men being interested in gay activities.
Well, this kind of gets to what actually happens in your brain, which is fascinating. So when they study people with problematic porn use, that's where you can get into this fMRI situation where you can understand that. I think it is objectively okay to say that tab jumping, watching porn for long periods of time, these things are not going to be positive parts of your life.
Exactly.
And I think that we can say that
on a
with
regular
confidence.
basis. Yeah. I think if you're doing it once in a blue moon, fine, whatever.
Totally.
But if you're doing this on a daily or weekly basis and consuming hours of porn, like I think it's pretty objectively not a healthy activity.
But scientifically, it's interesting. There sort of has been this sort of like freedom thing of like the early 2000s, like sexual liberation. And I think now there's like we're coming out the other end of like the internet's absolutely fucked. These companies are ruining us, and like objectively porn is quite bad. So then in this sort of like, oh, so what do you do with that information? And so they actually study their brains, and the dorsal cingulate, like essentially the anticipating rewards part of your brain, it completely changes the more porn that you watch. And then what ends up happening is you need more and more rewards in your day-to-day life to feel anything. Like there's a regulation that like goes up higher because your brain's actually changing. There's a change in gray matter, all of these things that you start to need more novel experiences in your life, or things don't feel exciting or novel, and then therefore you rely on porn. This is why there's increased depression, increased anxiety with people with problematic porn use. This increased during COVID, and that's part of how they've done a lot of this research.
And anecdotally, I would imagine that happens from social media as well, right? Totally. Like if you're getting dopamine rushes from all these things all the time, like it would obviously affect your, like that's the scary part, where it's like, it's not directly visually correlated for you to be like, I'm feeling worse in my life because I'm doing these things. But I think we all know social media plays like a pretty toxic role in a lot of our lives that probably does impact our happiness without us really seeing a direct connection.
And then essentially, because you're changing your ventral striatum, your amygdala, the gray matter within certain parts of your prefrontal cortex, with these hypersexual stimulus, and of course, that could be social media, but if you think about what porn is, the novelty of porn and the quick switching through, the tab jumping of gooning, like what you're doing to your brain, that plateau thing you're talking about, that's keeping these parts of your brain active and firing for long periods of time. And there's plasticity in your brain, it will increase. That will affect your day-to-day life and ability to feel those things. But the alterations also can explain directly why those people cannot control their sexual behavior impulses. So that's another reason why I think that article was trying to say, you go on Instagram, all of a sudden you see some like bouncing dick or like tits in a bra or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have to, or like I need to watch porn. That is triggered by the actual physical changes in your brain from gooning. So it's like okay.
Interplay with that. You mean like the more you're doing these, whether it's gooning or problematic porn use, then a small trigger impulse can push you into those activities.
Because of the way that these specific parts of your brain have now changed.
Yeah, you have like that kind of like your neurons are so primed for that and connected that by seeing one sexual thing, now you need to like, the rest are stimulated. I
thought that was interesting. Last thing I'm going to say is that also in regards to addiction, the thing about pornography is it falls under something called the AAA, like they say AAA hypothesis, which is that there's 3 A words. It's accessible, it's affordable, and it's anonymous. So that's something that you look for in addictive qualities of things in life. Accessible. Think about porn now. There's on your phone. It's in the you go to the bathroom at your break. Like there's it's so accessible. Affordable. It's free. Like you used to have to go buy a magazine not that long ago, pay for it. And then the other A, anonymous. You'd have to hide the magazine. It'd be a physical thing that you'd
or
be
even like buying it, you have to show
your face. You're like, I have to go, okay, I want this like big titty magazine. Yes. Whereas now because porn's become online, I thought that was fascinating. It's like those it's like, imagine we all had to confront someone and be like, 1 hour of Pornhub, please. Like you would be like, oh, fuck,
less likely. 100%. Yeah. And that's interesting because it goes back to your point earlier of like, sort of like a sexual liberation movement. On the one hand, you're like, that's great. Like many people are repressed and told that they should be shamed about their sexuality, like especially women, right? Like are told like you should not be sexual, you should not like want to be sexy, you shouldn't be masturbating. And so this like at least like those things can also provide like an opportunity for people to explore, and that can be really healthy. But what I think like, and this relates directly back to edging and gooning for me, it's like it is a spectrum, and you realize like edging and gooning fall on the literal same neurological pathway. So people who have premature ejaculation can use these techniques to actually like help themselves as a therapy, but those same techniques can push somebody on the other edge to the other side of things, right? Like by prolonging longer, may become pathological. And so I think it's the same with just like sexuality in general. Like there probably is some Goldilocks amount. Like it's like not about sex shaming. It's not about saying like this is bad. It's just like there's a range, and obviously each individual has to ultimately figure that out for themselves. It's the same with alcohol and drugs. It's the same with social media. Like I'm sure there's a range for people, but it's just interesting to be like, we came out of like a sexual liberation time, and without wanting to be conservative, like in of myself, and be like everyone should be liberated with their own sexuality, like knowing, especially because it's tied into capitalism, it's like exploiting that part.
That's the thing. It's like, I mean, we're getting to the end of our podcast, so we're gonna start talking about capitalism. But at a certain point, it's like I've lost all faith in every internet company. Like, okay, fine, yeah, in 2005, everyone was like, internet, I'm gonna learn so much, and like Wikipedia, we're gonna learn. It's like, that's so done. That's so done. And I think porn can fall under that. I bet there was a time where maybe it was a good thing. Okay, people can like learn about sex, explore sex, but then think of how quickly it's become absolutely fucked up, horrible to the people who are in that industry. Like every aspect, it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's sex negative to be like, it's fucked up. Porn's fucked up and the internet fucked it. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's just like my instinct. Like,
it's just hard. Nothing is black and white. And so it's just like, of course, there's cases that someone would post to me that I'd say, I think that's perfectly healthy. Even to be like someone could argue like, okay, but something like OnlyFans allows people a sense of autonomy to do it at their own. But then you're like, it's still a company that is obviously also thinking in the back end, how do we get more people engaged with this? How do we monetize their brain, like their minds with ads? And how do we make sure they stay on our platforms as long as possible and punish creators who like get people off the platform and those kind of things? So,
I need an OnlyFans A24 movie. I think that it's like this weird part of subculture. There could be a gooning subplot. Okay. But there's something about OnlyFans that I find is so fascinating and such a symptom of our time. And I think it's really trepidatious. Is that the right word? Like, I think people are afraid
to talk about
if people are afraid to talk about it, but I bet if someone did and had a strong take, it would be a hit. Like, I feel like everyone's walking on eggshells around
it, because
I know, me neither.
I think it's a positive
It's
thing.
hard to have an
But
opinion.
I understand that it's still like a corporation that wants to make a lot of money, and it's also like interesting to me. Like, I think like we're come out of times where sex work was so looked down upon, and it's that same thing. Like, of course sex work should be safe. It should, like, people are trying to make money. We live in a time that's extremely challenging, and a lot of people will use that as a way to make money, and I don't think there's any shame in that. But like, there's layers to everything. Again, it's not black and white. Some elements of it are probably really scary and toxic and bad, and there are probably people who are able to manage it.
And sex work should be legal so that it's safe for the sex workers. Like, that's an obvious thing,
right? But I think like it gets tricky when you're talking about how do you criticize this industry without making it seem like you're criticizing. Like, it's totally fine to be like like selling pictures of your body if you want to do that. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, that's your own autonomy.
Yeah. But as the internet progresses to where we've gotten to, where it's become such a negative aspect of everyone's life, and I think it's harder and harder to see that any other way. I could see it being harder to be an OnlyFans creator and feel positive about, like, you're becoming part of this huge online issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same with any kind of influencer. You're still you're thinking about, how can I trick someone's brain into giving me more attention? Like, we have to think about that kind of stuff too, and that's like not a healthy thing to have to think about.
No, not at all. And I think that's what's so interesting, is like everyone's just having to reckon with the internet becoming an innately shitty ass negative
I think
thing.
The internet, what it has been best at is like the extreme ends of everything. And like, even something I came across someone saying is, the internet has fostered two opposite and contradictory extremist subcultures around masturbation: gooning, which we've just talked about, and nofap, which frames complete abstinence as a transcendent goal. So it's interesting that like,
there's literally people who are like, gooning's transcendent, and there's people who are like, do not.
If you don't masturbate, you can hit this like level of consciousness that you wouldn't otherwise have. I have like a couple rapid fire stats, I'll say,
That's
from a survey
interesting.
around gooning that I found. So it said 1 in 7 participants admit they need more extreme or niche content to stay aroused.
Wow.
16% of participants confess they sometimes feel the urge to goon when they hadn't even planned to, and 8% struggle to stop once they started. 7% report soreness or exhaustion, and 7% have reported a nose-dived desire for real partners.
Wow.
4% of participants stated that gooning has interfered with my daily obligations. So
That all
like
kind
that
of tracks.
and that like it's like straddling that barrier of like, I'm sure some people can do it without these consequences and keep a positive relationship, but obviously we need to be aware of like, what are the extreme ends of this and how do we protect people from the bad parts of
Struggling to
subculture.
stop once you start. Like that reminds me of like friends who've had alcohol use disorder. Like there's something interesting that I just feel so lucky to that like with alcohol, I'm kind of like, okay, look, I'm not like I want more. Like I'm more like, you know what I mean? Like I see my friends who it's like they need more, and it's like this is like it kind of like it starts to make me feel weird where I'm like, oh, I can't, like I don't want more.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like can't stop once you've started. Like it's just other addictive things I've witnessed in my life. Like I've seen that, and I'm like I kind of actually can relate to porn more than anything else in my life, as sometimes having those moments of like.
Right. Like
You're kind of like
out of my control. Kind
yeah,
of thing.
or like
Yeah,
you know, you're just like
there's layers
scrolling
of-
Twitter and you're just like next one,
Yeah.
next one, next one, and it's like if someone was like you have to stop. Like obviously, a lot of the time when you're masturbating to porn, there's not like some reason to stop.
Yeah.
But if someone was like you have to stop, it's like I might be like give me 5 or like something like that. Like as opposed to other things when someone's like stop, it's like okay, yeah, I'll stop.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
addiction is a very interesting thing, and it's obviously extremely complicated. And yeah,
how
the
long
world's-
do you think you're gonna goon for in your life?
I'm not answering that.
Okay. Do you think you would like? Do you have any interest in attempting to goon?
Like, sure, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, but I feel weird about it. I'm also just like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm like, get in, get out. Sometimes it's just like it's a distraction.
Yeah.
It is just because I had the impulse and now I just need to like get it
Yeah.
done with. Like that's as much as I'm gonna say about
I
myself.
would
but
love to meet a gooner.
I thought you were gonna say a hot person.
Okay. I want to interview on this podcast a gooner and a hot person.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. And then maybe they could be the same person. And we could just
True.
do half talk to them about gooning, half talk to them about being hot. Fascinating lives. I wonder how you interview a gooner. Would it be
Reach
like
out if you guys
reach out if you goon and are willing? Do you think it would be like that America's Most Wanted thing where they'd be like their voice would be like I'm gonna like
depends. Some people might be like so confident about it. You know, there's different strokes, as they say.
do you think you know someone who you could
goons?
who you could interview for the hot person? Like someone who's like, yeah, you're right, I'll come on your podcast because I'm hot. Like I'd actually
Like
don't
I
know
guess
if I know
probably
anyone.
more likely girls, but then I wonder if it's because I can't be as objective as a gay person. Like
Wait,
I'm
there's
like,
girls you know who are so
that I'm
hot.
like that's like a really hot girl. I'm surely every straight guy, but you know when you're just like
Yeah.
straight guys have different tastes than gay guys, and I don't know. I might just like
I would love that tap on the shoulder. Hi, okay, weird question. I have a podcast. We want to interview a hot person.
yeah, that's not happening. Okay, I think that's all we have to say about gooning.
Yeah, that's a lot on gooning. 47 minutes. Oof.
wow.
Okay.
Thanks for sticking
That's
around. You
but-
basically gooned with us.
Yeah, but I was
Every-
going to say 47 minutes is shorter than any
goon session.
goon session that like, yeah. So
Hopefully this wasn't triggering for people, as in like sometimes just talking about these things. Honestly, when I was researching it, I was just like, you're thinking about sexual stuff the whole time.
getting
like,
turned on researching.
not
it?
like turned on, but you're like talking about being stimulated.
I
It's
typed
like
in-
a part of your brain that
I
goes
typed
like,
in
oh,
goon state and goon fuel. And then I just got a bunch of porn. It was just like, whoa, okay. And you actually walked upstairs while I was like doing research, and I kind of, it was like one of those. I would like turned. I was like, gooning's so interesting. Like I had to like make sure you knew I wasn't.
The amount of
just, like-
times I wish I could work in a cafe, but literally can't because of the things that we are researching. That I'm just like, I just can't have this on my screen.
goonfuel.com.
Literally.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next week.